I'm so pleased to be joined here by Mark Pothier, who is the new editor of the newly created Plymouth Independent. Welcome.
Great. It's wonderful to be here, Julie.
Wonderful to have you. Now, this is a big deal. We're starting a new online digital newspaper in Plymouth. What exactly brought you to this point right now in your life where you're going to be editor of this new paper?
I had been at the Globe for more than 22 years. I always wanted to work at the Boston Globe. I got to do a lot of things there, write a lot of stories, including some about Plymouth. But I started as a local journalist, and I was the editor of the O'Connor Memorial and its sister papers, which was about a dozen papers, for 14 years before I went to the Globe, and I had a fellowship in between, sandwich in between. And I just reached a point in my career where I was thinking about doing something else, although I love the Globe and I could still do that. And this came to the forefront. A bunch of really good people had already formed it, and they asked me to be on the board. And one thing led to another, and they asked me to be the editor. And it's a challenge and an adventure that I just could not say no to.
Right.
I feel it's really important. I've lived in Plymouth for a long time. I love the town, but I know there's something terribly amiss as well.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Now, aside from you, the former Boston Globe investigative reporter Andrea Estes was recently joined your staff. In a statement regarding her hiring, you're quoted as saying, "Andrea's talent for rooting out important news is unparalleled. There is a well-worn saying about sunlight being the best disinfectant, but it holds true. And I am confident she will bring a lot of sunshine to town. Having her on staff sends a strong message about the kind of serious journalism we plan to do." Talk about that.
Andrea is an exceptional reporter. She had been at the Globe for more than 20 years as well. We both started off in Globe South, which was a zoned edition of the Globe that unfortunately is no longer in existence. But over the years, Andrea has primarily been an investigative reporter, and she has done dozens of stories. She has put people in jail, including former House Speaker Sal DeMacy. Most recently, one of the stories she brought to light, which was on the highly overpaid Methuen police chief who had to step down, that's in the news again because now he's been indicted. That's because of Andrea's initial work. That's the kind of work she is capable of doing and has done for a long time. She lives in Plymouth, and she loves the town. She's relatively new, and she's as concerned as anybody else. So we were thrilled to hire her as our first reporter.
Right. So when you talk about investigative reporting, obviously that's the type of reporting that isn't done in one interview. I mean, it can be weeks, it can be months. What kind of a staff do you foresee having to build up to do justice to that type of reporting?
I need a massive staff, Julie, a massive staff and lots of money. But we are starting modestly, and that is a concern. So we will probably be judicious in what kinds of stories we choose. I call them enterprise stories more than investigative, in that you're right. A Globe Spotlight series, for example, it can take a year. And it's a team of people, and there's video people, online editors,
Sure,
all kinds of folks involved. We're a small operation. Besides Andrea, you're looking at the only other employee at the moment.
At the moment.
We're looking to hire more.
Yep.
So we're going to start modestly because we're dependent on funding, and we'll use some freelancers. I've already been in touch with some people. We're reaching out to a lot of public agencies and departments. I was just at the police department today talking about how we can get information about what the police are doing in crime in town and get that onto the Plymouth Independent site. So to answer your question, I see us needing a lot more resources as it goes along, but it's all dependent on what kind of funding we can get, what kind of support we can get from the community, and I'm very optimistic about that.
And you're not going to have a traditional, the way newspapers have advertisements all over the place, and that's basically where most newspapers get their funding. You're not going to have any ads, is that correct?
I wouldn't say that we're not. I know that's something the board has talked about and how we would do that, where you may have sponsorships or things like that. But much like the National Public Radio model, we will primarily be dependent on readers, viewers, and their money, and also obviously grants and foundations, nonprofit news sites are cropping up all over the country.
Absolutely.
It's really become a model.
Yeah.
And so there's a big buzz about it, and I think we're going to see more money flowing into it.
Excellent. Okay. What is there any specific area of reporting that you'll concentrate on Plymouth first that's easy? Like you just said, like the police, for example, having almost a police blotter or that type of thing. Are there other things that come to mind as being not a heavy lift, but content?
Well, I have a bunch of ideas. I'd like to have a list of DPW projects coming up so people can see when they're going to be inconvenienced or why they're being inconvenienced, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Something as simple as school lunch menus, which you can get those on the school website, but we want the Plymouth Independent to be a place where people can go to each day, maybe multiple times a day, and find it a resource for basic information like that. In addition to news, I want to have a forum for local artists and photographers to display their work and get it out to people. I'm a really big backer of the arts and culture, and there's a burgeoning scene in Plymouth, but we can do more, we can do better.
Right.
So we hope to be part of that as well.
Okay, that's excellent. Now, in this day and age of division and rancor and social media and nonsense, a lot of it is nonsense, but it's people's opinions. And an opinion isn't right or wrong, it's an opinion. How do you feel that the Plymouth Independent can help tone down the temperature, or can you?
That is a tough question, but I do feel like opinion can be wrong because opinion too often now is either taken as fact or kind of morphs into fact, takes on a life of its own, becomes news. We have the All Things Plymouth Facebook page in Plymouth. I'm all for free speech. I'm not saying it should not be there, but it's really a cesspool in many ways. And we hope to provide an alternative to that kind of thing by having vetted, factual information that people can rely on. And I think that is healthy for the town. That's healthy for a vibrant discussion on both sides of the issue. We can't be totally objective because I don't think there's such thing as total objectivity. Just the fact of how the site looks, what stories we choose, how we decide to play them.
Right.
That says something. But we are going to strive to have a balance and also to have plenty of ways for people to interact with it, to get their voice out there as well. Not hatred, but a wide range of opinion.
Now, are you going to have an editorial page where you, as the editor,
No.
you're not going to?
We're not going to do that.
Okay.
Maybe eventually there would be, but I feel like that's what we were saying. Everybody has opinions.
Yeah.
Ours aren't necessarily any better than anyone else's.
Yeah.
And there's so much other news to do. I served on the editorial board of the Globe for about 20 months during the 2016 presidential campaign, met a lot of people. And honestly, after a while, I got very frustrated writing editorials because I felt like they weren't having an impact or was writing about the same legislation that had been filed by a legislator 6 years in a row.
Right.
And this year, he or she was hopeful it would get out of committee, and it didn't feel like a good use of my time and resources. So the answer is no.
Yeah. You want to report on things that are doing something, one way or the other. They're moving one way or the other.
Right.
And you have facts to back up where their movement is going and why.
Right. There's just a need to get so much information out there that they can probably get by without our opinion.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I absolutely hear you. What do you look forward to the most about this whole new adventure in your life?
Well, for me, it's kind of coming full circle because, as I mentioned earlier, I was the editor of the Old Colony Memorial when it was a real newspaper. And that wasn't because of me. It was the Times. It was the economy. It was a great staff that we had in the backing from the publisher. Some of you may remember our headquarters, MPG Newspapers, right off Long Pond Road where the Honda dealership is. Now, it was a sad day for me to see that raised, but life goes on. So what I'm most excited about is that we're in the here and now and looking to the future and building something from scratch, which I've never done. At the Globe, I had this huge structure around me to help. And here it's much smaller, but the people that are involved are really concerned about the town, and they really love the town, and they want it to be better. So
Right.
that's what I'm excited about, is growing this from the ground up and making it something that's going to be sustainable long after me. Because frankly, the old Colonial Memorial, I used to tell people I was just a caretaker of it. It was almost 200 years old then.
Right.
I thought, this will be around forever. This will be vibrant.
Yeah.
It's a part of the fabric of the community. And I had no idea what kind of devastation was ahead for the newspaper industry,
right.
especially at the community level.
Yes.
And it's terrible.
And it's everywhere.
Yeah,
It's everywhere.
It's
Yep,
not just
it's everywhere,
Plymouth.
all across the
And
country.
I don't blame the journalists, the people that stayed on to the bitter end.
No.
And because I honestly do feel like the OCM is like dead in the water, and it's owned by Gannett, and it's not coming back.
No. And I think everybody knows that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that makes me very sad. I
Right.
don't take any delight in saying that.
I know. But onward and upward we go.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, Mark, I wish you the best of luck. I'm sure we'll have you on again.
We'd love to come back and talk about how far we've come in such a short time.
Great. Okay. We'll
Great.
see you then.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button before you go. We'll see you next time.